After days of abuse, you finally reacted and now you feel bad. Why? You feel bad because you're trauma bonded, okay? You feel bad because you are addicted to the same person that is treating you like trash. You feel bad because you feel obligated to fix him. You feel bad because you feel obligated to love him because you promised to. You feel bad because you are hooked and your mind knows it, but your heart won't let you get away. I can't tell you how many times I've been at that point, okay? I have said things that I would never have said had I not been pushed to my breaking point. Everybody has a breaking point. There's only so much abuse you can take, right? And when we finally snap in true narcissist form, they flip it and make us the problem. Never mind what they did. Never mind what they said. Never mind the circumstances. The only problem in the whole situation is your reaction, right? You're the bad guy. Now, I don't know the situation. I don't know if y'all are still together or what have you. But you're going to continue to feel bad as long as you're trauma bonded. And in order to treat a trauma bond, you have to treat it like an addiction. You have to go cold turkey. And you have to go through those withdrawals. And you have to go within yourself. And you have to submit yourself to whatever higher power you believe in. And you have to allow yourself to be uncomfortable. And you have to allow yourself to go through the pain. Because without the pain, you're always going to feel like this. Without that painful process, you will always feel this way. Always. Because trauma bonds don't break themselves. The enemy's not going to just let you get away. So, that reactive abuse is a thing. Pushing and pushing and prodding and prodding and pushing every button that they know will get a reaction from you. So they can sit back and smile. Get out, baby. You deserve better than that. I love you.
Fucking years!
It's because you're crazy.
No, I'm not crazy! You did this to me!
I know.
God damn, I'm not fucking crazy! I fucking hate you! I fucking hate you! Tell me I'm fucking crazy again! No!
Hey She Risers, welcome to the channel. This is Jaslyn. I hope you all are doing well. Today I want to talk about something that hits close to home for me, and that is reactive abuse. I did in my marriage. Reactive abuse is when you've been pushed, manipulated, and hurt for so long, and you finally react in a way that seems explosive and aggressive. And suddenly the abuser actually flips the script on you, become the quote unquote bad person. And while they just play the victim. And it's hella confusing and just crazy. So now let's check out some more videos on reactive abuse. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please be sure to do so, okay? All right, now let's get into it.
Reactive abuse is when a victim has been in a toxic relationship for a while and they begin defending themselves against emotionally violent attacks. So this happens like when we push, yell, rage, have angry outbursts. Throw things, call people names. This is self-defense. It happens when we hit our breaking point. Yep. So we will hit a point where it's just like we have no choice but to react.
Yeah.
So, and it's typically out of character for us, which makes us feel really confused by our own responses. It's a defense mechanism, but it rarely saves us from the harm.
Yeah,
that's the thing that's crazy about it.
Yeah, it makes it worse. And
yep.
We'll get into why here in a moment, but yeah. I think that anyone, like I've seen this in relationships, even when there's not alcohol or drugs, when you've just got an abusive person, and it's generally the woman will say, we were just toxic together. We were bad for each other. Wow. If you really back up and look at what's happening is that you've got someone who's incredibly emotionally abusive, someone who will lash out in uncharacteristic ways, defending themselves. and then look way too hard at their part in that.
Yes.
It's not to say you shouldn't look at your part in things, right? I'm still a believer in that, but looking way too hard at it and completely disregarding the other person's, why you ended up there. Like, the context matters here.
Yeah.
The context absolutely matters. And the context is generally, you've been backed into a corner. You've been told you're crazy. You've been emotionally abused, sometimes physically abused. And then at some point you reach a breaking point, like Paige mentioned, and you just snap.
Yeah.
And you just snap. It's like you just start seeing red. And anything that happens after that point is an involuntary self-defense mechanism.
So that right there could be a clear example of what a lot of people refer to as reactive abuse in toxic relationships, y'all. Like, that happens when a narcissistic person or a toxic person just keeps on poking you and poking you and poking you, and then you explode and show a side of yourself that you probably don't show very often, or a side of yourself that you didn't know was in there. Being in a toxic relationship with a narcissistic person can bring out the absolute worst versions of you. Like, a lot of people leave these toxic relationships with narcissistic people feeling ashamed of themselves, of how they behaved and what they put up with and things of that nature. And a narcissistic person, like, when you react to their abuse or their abusive behaviors, it empowers them. Like, narcissistic people inside of our heads, like, we feel like we can control you, because, like, if I can trigger a reaction out of you, I am in control of you. You are not in control of you. So that's why I'm consistently telling people, like, controlling your reactions against a narcissistic person is a superpower, because your reactions feed them.
So despite the fact that there's now a lot more education around things like psychological and emotional abuse and coercive control, a lot of people still seem to struggle with those concepts, instead mainly or only associating abuse with direct physical violence, or screaming, or name calling. So let's get into 10 behaviors that absolutely constitute abuse. And if your partner does any of these things, you're in an abusive relationship. And if you're new here, I'm a narcissistic abuse educator and a narcissistic relationship recovery coach. Make sure you hit follow and you can book a session with me through the link in my bio. And just quickly, the true definition of abuse is a pattern of behavior used to gain or maintain power and control over another person. Number 1, driving dangerously or erratically with you in the car. This is about intimidation, power, and control. Number 2, throwing things, kicking or punching holes in walls, and destroying personal property. A lot of people think that because their partner is not punching or kicking them, that this doesn't constitute physical violence. But it absolutely does. It's about power, control, intimidation, and also remember that abuse escalates. Number 3, threats of self-harm. I.e., if you don't do what I want, or if you leave me, I'm going to unalive myself or hurt myself in some way. This is emotional and psychological abuse. This causes emotional and psychological distress, and it's all about gaining and maintaining power and control over you. Number 4, constantly monitoring your location, where you are, who you're with, going through all of your messages, social media, etc. If your partner distrusts you to this extent and feels the need to exert this level of control over you, what you're doing, where you're going, who you're seeing, that is indicative of an abuser. That is toxic and unhealthy behavior. And as I said before, abuse escalates. This type of control and possessiveness is associated with physical violence down the line. Number 5, isolating you from friends and family. Abusers want to be the only voice that you hear. Turning you against your friends or family, or turning your friends or family against you, is emotional and psychological abuse. Number 6, gaslighting and making you question your reality. Gaslighting is quite an extreme form of psychological abuse, and it is a favored weapon of narcissists and similar abusers. Number 7, the weaponized use of withholding love, affection, and approval. The withholding of these things to punish you, demean you, or devalue you is incredibly damaging. It affects your sense of self, your self-esteem, and your self-worth. And this behavior has no place in any kind of healthy relationship, or any relationship at all. Love is not a weapon that you take off the table in order to hurt your partner. Number 8, stonewalling, silent treatment, and temporary discards or breakups as punishment. These tactics are designed to make you self-censor, stop holding this person accountable, lower your standards, kill your boundaries, and maintain power and control. Number 9, continuous criticism. Picking at everything that you do, making it such that nothing you do is ever good enough and you can never meet their standards. Included in this point is continually shifting the goalposts. They want you to do this, you do it, they shift the goalpost here so it's still not good enough. This type of behavior is psychological and emotional abuse. And number 10, continually accusing you of things that you haven't done, wouldn't do, or might not even be possible. Constant accusations that you're cheating, lying, or doing ridiculous or impossible things are really common in relationships with narcissists and psychopaths. This is one of the biggest indicators that you're in a relationship with a pathological person. And I'm talking, you go to the bathroom for literally a minute and a half and they accuse you of fucking the waiter while you're in there. This is psychological abuse. And I don't mean a normal enough or healthy enough person who has suspicions that their partner is cheating and has asked them about it a few times. I'm talking about continuous, aggressive, ridiculous accusations about things that are not even possible. And I know there's gonna be a bunch of people out there who know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep, I engaged in reactive abuse. There were a handful of times where I had lost my shit on him. We would have conversation after conversation about respectful communication during arguments, and he would just break it over and over and over again. I would call out his passive-aggressive digs each and every single time he made them, and I would explain how hurtful and harmful they were. He would apologize, and he would admit that he intentionally said it to hurt me. He would promise to do better, only for another one to fly out of his mouth the next time he was dysregulated. When you've been poked and you've communicated the same boundary over and over again, only for it to be stepped on repeatedly, time and time again, you eventually fucking snap. You yell. You call them a shitty partner. You're an asshole. If you're so unhappy, would you just fucking leave? Your feelings aren't my problem. You're so angry and you're so frustrated from saying the same shit over and over again. You storm out of the room. You yell at them and you tell them to go fuck themselves. You slam the door behind you while you sob uncontrollably. And this is when they come in and they say, oh, I see the double standards. I'm not allowed to yell at you, but you're allowed to yell at me. I'm not allowed to call you a bitch, but you can call me an asshole. The rules don't apply to you, only me. Typical. And then they leave the room. And you're floored. So you get up and you follow them and you say, wait a minute. They cut you off and they say, no, thank you. I want some space. I don't want to talk to you until you've cooled down. And you're livid. They just pushed you so fucking hard. And now they're the calm one. I was beside myself, pacing in circles, begging to talk to him, only for him to snap and say, leave me the fuck alone. I asked nicely and now I'm done asking. So you turn around to go back to the bedroom and you mutter something passive-aggressive and shitty but truthful under your breath. They hear it and they jump up off the couch to come at you one more time because they're standing up for themselves because you're an abuser. Yeah, I experienced it. It's a total mindfuck.
Reactive abuse is extremely insidious because it actually can get the victim to a point of truly believing they're a problem and their already depleted sense of self-worth and self-esteem and self-concept being attacked by the opponent or the abuser starts to become the most dangerous part of it because they can harm themselves or at the very least feel guilty and self-loathe for the very suffering that they're enduring. So what is reactive abuse? Reactive abuse is, well, what the abuser does is sends out every insult. Mines, trigger mines is what I call it. They're mining for your triggers. They will use old stories, mistakes that you've made, things they know that you're ashamed about. They'll gaslight you and accuse you of doing the very thing that they caused you to feel pain from. And there's only so much that a human being can deal with, no matter how evolved or how much therapy you've done. It's a toxic environment. And I want to make this video because whether you're in a relationship with a narcissist or in a relationship with someone who's narcissistic or just maladapted through traumas that they won't or can't deal with, there is a toll to staying in an environment like that. If I can just help you change your perspective if this is a position that you're in, of becoming aware of what reactive abuse is, that the carrot on the end of the stick for them is you breaking, is you becoming nasty so that they can displace all of that guilt and shame and, paranoia of how they look onto you to wear that for them. I think it changes the game to become aware of that. And now your intention can at least be, until you can get out of an environment like that or seek therapy, at least your intention is the game that they want to win is you losing it. And if you can just practice going, I'm not going to let them displace all of those insults. I'm not going to react in that kind of a way. Now, I know this is overly simplistic and it's very difficult in the moment to do this, but I promise you, if you can just set that intention to become dispassionate, to allow them 100% ownership of the garbage that they throw out and the shame that comes with it when you are quiet, silent, or surprised, I think it's going to change the way that you interact with them. So reactive abuse, very common in relationships with narcissists, but can be in many maladaptive relationships or with maladaptive people. So be careful. Ultimately, you want to exit a relationship like that, but until you do, don't let them win.
I want to talk to you about reactive abuse. Reactive abuse is a term that we use for what happens when you are being abused. And I'm not talking about physical, I'm talking about emotional abuse. When you are experiencing emotional abuse from your partner, and it goes on and on and on. The silent treatment, the gaslighting, the stonewalling, the blame shifting. And if you're not familiar with what emotional abuse is, go check out my playlist called Emotional Abuse. Reactive abuse is when you are experiencing abuse from your partner and it goes on long enough that you are unable to control yourself and you react. And maybe you yell, maybe you lash out, maybe you act in ways that are shitty. We call this reactive abuse, but here's what I call it, because I don't like this term reactive abuse. I think that it's a form of victim blaming. What it is an appropriate response to abusive behavior. When someone is being abused and you have a strong reaction, that is a normal response to abusive behavior, to being abused. It doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean that we're condoning it. We have to still own our own behavior. However, I don't like this term reactive abuse. I think it's better to just say I'm having an appropriate response to being abused. And now I need to deal with that. I need to deal with my feelings, my emotions. I need to take action that's going to keep me safe. But I just don't like reactive abuse as a term. I don't think it's good. Tell me what you think.
Some people will push and push and push your buttons until you're at breaking point, you react, and then they point at you and say, see, they were the crazy person. This is called reactive abuse, and it's why it is so important to learn how to practice the pause and respond instead of react. It's why it's important to be able to put some distance between us and that person so that we have some time to think. If they are truly a toxic person, there is a good chance that they have been going around telling everybody that you're already a crazy person, even though you haven't done anything yet. This is the layup so that they can say, see, they really are, I told you so. Between stimulus, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. And in that response lies our growth and our freedom. Victor E. Frankie.
You know, She Risers, it took me a long time to understand what was happening to me. I remember moments where I was constantly defending myself, trying to explain myself and getting more and more upset. And when I did, I just snapped. And I remember there was a time that I screamed that I hated him for being mistreated undeservingly for years. And he just couldn't believe that I could actually say that to him. And that is the trap of reactive abuse. You're being emotionally or even physically attacked slowly over time. It's subtle at first, like a comment here, a dig there, or something big, like being lied to and cheating. And after a while, you just explode. You react because it's human to react when someone keeps poking at your spirit. But they use that reaction of that, they use it against you. And it makes it seem like you're the abuser because they know exactly how to push you. And in my case, I was always made to feel like I was losing it, like I was too emotional and too sensitive. But the truth is, I wasn't. Things that were happening warranted to feel emotional and sensitive to. I was just reacting to years of being mistreated. And if you've been there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's that rage that builds up inside of you. It isn't who you are. It's just a response to trauma and abuse. Reactive abuse is really designed to keep you trapped. It makes you question yourself. You start asking, am I the problem? No, sis, you're not. The abuser counts on you reacting because they want to control the narrative. They want to shift the blame onto you so they don't have to own up to what they're doing. Reactive abuse is really like a never-ending cycle. They poke, you react, they blame you, and then you feel guilty. But really, the only way to break the cycle is to recognize it for what it is. It's manipulation at its finest. That how isolating it can feel. You think that no one will understand, or worse, that they'll believe you're the problem. But you're not alone in this. There's power in recognizing the crazy, stupid games that they're playing, and even more power in choosing to walk away from it. I had to learn that my reactions didn't define me, the abuse did. And just because I reacted, it didn't make me wrong. It just made me human. So if you ever find yourself in a situation like this, don't let them twist the truth on you. Don't let them gaslight you into thinking you're the villain of your own story. You're stronger than that, and you deserve so much better. All right. So that's it for today. Remember to check out more of my videos on healing, growth, and self-love. Let's keep lifting each other up, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we're in this together. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.